You'd think a grocery store would be the last place for your life to unravel. But on that day, in aisle 7, I learned some people carry more venom than sense, and I happened to be in the way. It was a crowded Saturday, and the store was humming with chaos. Kids were whining, carts rattling over cracked linoleum, and the air smelled faintly of overripe bananas and bleach. I was 33 weeks pregnant, dragging a cart that felt heavier with every aisle, one hand on my belly, the other steadying myself against the edge of the cereal shelf. Darren, my husband, had taken our toddler Calb to grab wipes and milk. I told him I'd meet him near checkout. I wanted to feel capable, independent, normal, whatever that meant anymore. My ankles throbbed, my lower back ached, but I pressed on, determined to do this one thing myself. Then I met her. She was standing in the middle of the aisle like she owned it. Cart jammed diagonally, arms crossed, oversized sunglasses perched on her head like a crown. Her hair was in one of those dramatic blonde bobs that always seemed to scream attitude. I cleared my throat politely. Nothing. She didn't flinch. I gave it a second, then carefully guided my cart past the edge of hers. A small nudge, nothing aggressive, nothing rude. Barely contact. But the moment it happened, she spun like a cobra. "Excuse me," she barked, voice slicing through the air. "Did you just hit my cart?" I blinked, stunned.
I'm sorry.
I didn't mean to." "You people," she snapped, stepping closer. "You waddle around with your belly sticking out like the world owes you something. Some of us have things to do." I felt the burn creep up my cheeks. The aisle had gone quiet around us. I could feel eyes. A phone lifted somewhere behind me, recording. "I really didn't mean anything by it," I said, my voice smaller than I wanted. And then, she slapped me. No warning, no build-up, just the sharp crack of her hand against my face. Gasps erupted behind me. My body jolted. I staggered back a step, my palm flying to my cheek. My other hand instinctively cradled my belly. I didn't even register pain, just shock. A slap? In public? For brushing her cart? Before I could say a word, I heard a voice behind me. Low, steady, and chillingly calm. "What did you just do to my wife?" I turned. Darren was standing there, Calb in one arm, his eyes locked on the woman.
No shouting. No theatrics.
Just that terrifying quiet men get when they've reached the very edge. The woman, Karen, though I didn't know her name yet, flinched like a dog caught chewing furniture. "She hit my cart," she said. "She nearly knocked me over." "You slapped a pregnant woman," Darren said, "in front of our child." "I didn't know she was pregnant," she shrieked. "She didn't say anything." "You don't need a birth certificate to see a baby bump," he said flatly. People had gathered. 2 store employees appeared, one whispering into a walkie-talkie. Karen's cheeks flushed red, but not from anger, from fear. "She assaulted me," she tried again. "You all saw it." "No," said a man behind her, arms folded. "We all saw you." She turned, desperate now. Phones up, witnesses everywhere, nowhere to run. And me? I was still holding my cheek, still trying to understand what had just happened, still trying to remember what I came to this aisle for. Cereal. I had just wanted cereal. I stood there, frozen. My cheeks still stung, but the heat rising inside me wasn't from the slap anymore. It was the realization that I had just been assaulted in public, while pregnant, for doing absolutely nothing wrong. Darren stepped forward and placed a steady hand on my shoulder. I remember the weight of it, how it grounded me. I looked at him, my lips trembling. "She hit me?" I whispered, barely believing it myself. He turned to the store manager. "Call the police. We're pressing charges." Karen. She hadn't been called that yet, but somehow the name fit. Recoiled. Wait, that's not necessary. Let's just move on from this. No one was really hurt." "You assaulted a pregnant woman in front of half the store," Darren said, his voice still calm but now cold as stone. "You don't get to walk away." The manager nodded gravely and signaled to the young employee with the walkie-talkie. Karen tried to back away, inching her cart toward the next aisle, But another shopper stepped in front of her. An older man with folded arms and a steely glare. "You're not going anywhere, lady," he said. "We saw everything." Karen's eyes darted from face to face, searching for someone, anyone, to take her side. But all she saw were phones and judgment. Her arrogance began to wilt into panic. Beside me, Calb had gone quiet in Darren's arms, clutching his juice box like a lifeline. I reached out and stroked his hair, trying to soothe him, even as my own heart raced and my knees began to wobble. Then security arrived. A tall woman with a buzz cut and a younger man with a clipboard. The manager briefed them quickly, gesturing toward me, Darren, Karen, and the crowd of witnesses. The buzz-cut woman stepped forward. "We need to separate everyone and take statements," she announced firmly. "The police have been called. Please remain calm." At the word police, Karen flinched hard. Her voice cracked. It was a reflex. I was startled. She bumped me in a tight space. I reacted. The security guard cut her off. "Ma'am, we've already reviewed one video and are collecting more. You will need to remain here until officers arrive." A teenage girl stepped forward, her phone still raised. She had caught the slap perfectly. The guard nodded to her. Karen's face twisted with disbelief. "This is harassment. Reverse harassment. I'm the one being targeted." Someone in the crowd audibly groaned. Another muttered, "Oh, give me a break." I was shaking, my breath shallow, trying to stay upright. The adrenaline had begun to fade, and what was left was a cocktail of fear and fatigue. "Let's move you over here," the buzz-cut guard said gently, guiding us out of the crowd. Darren wrapped his arm around me and helped me to a quieter corner near the pharmacy section. "Just breathe, baby," he whispered. "I've got you." I nodded, hands still pressed to my belly, fingers tracing slow circles. My daughter shifted inside me, as if sensing the storm outside. The guard knelt in front of me. "Are you feeling okay physically? Dizziness? Cramps?"
I'm shaky.
"My heart's pounding," I admitted. I didn't think anyone would actually hit me." "We've got EMTs on the way," she said softly. "Better safe than sorry." Darren spoke next, firm and unwavering. "We're pressing charges." She didn't just snap. She attacked. If nobody had stepped in, it could have gotten worse. The guard nodded. "The store is filing a report as well. With this many witnesses and videos, the case is solid." Back in aisle 7, Karen was pacing, muttering to herself, unraveling by the second. Whatever control she thought she had, it was gone now. Her voice was shrill, her eyes wild. And then I heard the first faint wail of sirens outside. The police were here. The red and blue lights flashed through the glass doors, painting the checkout lines in eerie pulses. It didn't feel real. It felt like we'd stumbled into someone else's viral nightmare, except it was ours. I was seated near customer service now, a bottle of water in my hands, barely touched. The EMT knelt in front of me, tightening a blood pressure cuff around my arm. He was calm, kind, the sort of voice you trust because it doesn't rise, even when things go wrong. "Any pain in the abdomen? Dizziness?" he asked. "Not pain, just shaking. Adrenaline, maybe," I murmured. Darren stood close, arms crossed. He didn't move like a man angry. He moved like a man who had made a decision. Like something inside him had locked into place and there was no going back. Calb had wandered off with a kind store clerk who was keeping him entertained with a small stuffed bear and a coloring book from the checkout rack. Bless that woman. I'd never even caught her name. Then the officers came in. A man and a woman, both serious, alert, with the kind of posture that says, "We've seen it all, but we still care." The store manager rushed to greet them, handing off phones and whispering in clipped, urgent tones. The female officer approached me first. She crouched slightly, respectful. "Ma'am, are you all right? You're the victim." I nodded. "Yes, just still shaken." I didn't see it coming. Her voice was gentle but purposeful. "We've reviewed several videos. I need your version of the story, just to complete the report." So I told her. I told her how I tried to squeeze past a cart, how I'd barely nudged it, how the woman erupted, how she slapped me before I could even process her voice rising. I told her how the whole thing escalated out of nothing. I left out how scared I was. I left out how my knees had almost buckled. But maybe she saw it anyway. Then the officer turned to Darren. "Your name, sir?" "Darren Holloway," he said, calm but clipped. I left her for a minute to grab milk. Came back and she was holding her face. That woman, Karen, was yelling like my wife had attacked her. She hit her. She hit a pregnant woman. The officer asked gently, "Did you confront the suspect?" "I didn't touch her," he said firmly. "Didn't yell. But I made sure she wasn't walking away." She scribbled something in her pad, then looked up. "We'll be pressing charges. Thank you both for how you've handled this. You've shown more restraint than most." Across the store, in aisle 7, Karen was floundering. The male officer stood beside her as she tried to explain. Not apologize, not own it. Explain. "She bumped me first. It startled me. I didn't even know she was pregnant." "She didn't say." The officer's tone didn't waver. "You slapped a woman in public. Pregnant woman. Multiple people recorded the assault. That's not a misunderstanding. That's a crime." Karen's eyes widened. "I have rights. I don't feel safe. People are filming me without consent. This is targeted harassment." I heard someone near the impulse bins mutter, "She's still trying?" Another voice, "Play stupid games." The officer pulled out a pair of handcuffs. Calm. Measured. "Ma'am, you're being placed under arrest for assault. You have the right to remain silent." Click. Her voice cracked as they cuffed her. "You can't do this. I'm on the PDA. I'm a community leader." Darren stood nearby, arms folded, watching. He didn't speak. He didn't need to. The store parted for them as they escorted her outside. A silent crowd of strangers holding phones and silent judgment. Karen looked around, searching for an ally in the crowd. She found none. And as the doors slid closed behind her, I realized something. She hadn't just slapped me. She'd written her own ending. The ride home was silent. Not cold. Just heavy. I leaned my head against the passenger window, one hand on my belly, feeling the subtle kicks of the baby beneath my dress. My cheek still carried the sting. Not of the slap, but of humiliation. I wasn't someone who made scenes. I wasn't someone who cried in public. But now, I was that woman from aisle 7. The one in the viral video. The one people were already commenting on. Darren drove with both hands on the wheel, his jaw tight, eyes fixed ahead. He didn't speak until we pulled into the driveway. "Do you want me to call your doctor?" he asked, finally looking at me. I shook my head. "They said to rest. Monitor. I'll call if anything changes." He nodded. He didn't push. Inside the house, the scent of lavender and baby lotion wrapped around me like a blanket. I sank onto the couch while Darren took Calb to his room and tucked him in. When he returned, he knelt beside me with a glass of water and a cold cloth, gently pressing it to my cheek. "You're safe," he whispered. "You're okay." But I didn't feel okay. I felt invaded, exposed. "I still can't believe it happened," I said. "That someone would hit me, for brushing past a cart." Darren took my hand and held it firmly. "It's not your fault. People like her, they think they own the space around them. And when they feel small, they lash out to feel big again. She didn't even see me as a person," I whispered. "Just an obstacle." His eyes burned, but his voice stayed level. "And she picked the wrong woman." The next few days were a blur, doctor check-ins, follow-ups, missed work. I stayed home, mentally and physically drained. Darren took over the grocery runs. He didn't want me near that store. Not yet. Then the post went viral. Darren had uploaded it late at night. A photo of me on the couch, bruise on my cheek, Calb curled up beside me. No names, no store, just the truth. My wife is 33 weeks pregnant. She was slapped in public today for brushing past someone's shopping cart. The woman never asked if she was okay. She screamed, blamed, and walked away like nothing happened. We're pressing charges. I hope this world remembers how to protect each other. By morning, it had exploded. 100,000 shares. Thousands of comments. Stories poured in from women everywhere. Stories of being harassed, humiliated, attacked while pregnant. In grocery stores, on sidewalks, at work. The same rage, the same disbelief. Something bigger was happening now. Karen, whose name eventually leaked, had been officially charged with misdemeanor assault. We got the call from the officer personally. "She's retained a lawyer," he said. "She's pleading not guilty." Claims it was panic and self-defense. Darren almost laughed. Panic doesn't come with an open palm. But despite the support, the tension didn't leave my chest. At night, I'd lie awake, flinching at imagined footsteps in the hallway. I replayed the moment on loop, the sting, the gasp, the shame. Darren saw it in me, even when I tried to hide it. He'd bring me tea, hold my hand in silence, or just sit beside me while I stared at nothing. Then, one evening, I asked the question I hadn't said out loud. "Do you think she even feels sorry?" He didn't answer at first. Then, staring at the darkening horizon, he said quietly, "No, not yet. People like her don't feel guilt, they feel consequences. And those haven't caught up to her yet." I nodded, the breeze brushing against my face. "I don't want revenge," I whispered. "I just want her to never do this to someone else." Darren reached over and gently took my hand. "You've already made sure of that." And I believed him. The courthouse stood tall and cold against the overcast sky. Red brick, gray columns, and silence. The kind of silence that presses down on you like a decision waiting to be made. I walked slowly beside Darren, my arm looped through his. I was 35 weeks now. The weight I carried wasn't just the baby. It was everything else. The slap, the stares, the questions, the headlines, the healing. I wore a simple navy dress and flats. Nothing flashy. I wasn't there to make a statement. I was there to finish something. Reporters lingered outside, but no one approached. Court orders had made it clear. No shouting, no flashbulbs, no ambushes. Inside, the courtroom felt sterile and stiff. Fluorescent lights.
Beige walls.
Wooden benches filled with strangers, reporters, court staff, and somewhere across the aisle, Karen. Her infamous haircut looked neater now. She wore a cream blazer and slacks. No sunglasses this time.
No glare.
Just stiff posture and darting eyes. She looked at me once, then away.
No apology.
Not even a flicker of recognition. She still didn't see me. The judge read the charges. Misdemeanor assault, public disorder, endangerment of a vulnerable person. Her lawyer, a sharp man with expensive shoes and a nervous smile, spun his story. That Karen was stressed, overwhelmed, that the slap was a reflex in a tight space, that she had no history of violence, that the incident had been amplified by online hysteria. But then came the videos. One by one, the screens lit up with reality. Her voice, her words, the slap, my face, Darren's quiet fury, the crowd closing in, the sound of gasps and disbelief. No amount of spin could scrub away what the world had already seen. And when it came time to speak, I stood. Slowly, carefully. Darren gave my hand one final squeeze and let go. "Your Honor," I said, my voice calm. "This didn't happen in a vacuum. This wasn't just a slap. It was a violation of my safety, my dignity, my child's safety." I paused, pressing a hand to my belly. I didn't yell. I didn't provoke. I was just trying to buy cereal. And instead, I was attacked. And after the slap, what came next was worse. The gaslighting, the blaming, the arrogance. She didn't even pretend to care what she did. I glanced at Karen, who sat frozen, jaw clenched. I don't need revenge. I don't even need an apology. What I need is for this court to make it clear. People like her don't get to lash out and walk away like nothing happened. Not anymore. When I sat down, Darren looked at me like I had just leveled the entire room. The judge didn't raise her voice. She didn't deliver a dramatic speech. She simply laid out the consequences. 12 months probation. Mandatory anger management. 50 hours of community service at a women's shelter. A written letter of apology, filed with the court. Immediate jail time if she violated any part of the sentence. Karen didn't cry. She didn't speak. She nodded once. Barely. And it was done. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed with questions. Cameras flashed. But we didn't stop. I didn't need to explain myself to anyone anymore. Only when we got into the car, doors shut, windows rolled up, did I exhale long, slow, from the bottom of my chest. Darren reached for my hand. "It's done," he said. I nodded. "It's done." 3 weeks later, our daughter was born. Healthy, strong, a little early, but full of fight. We named her Arya, because after all that noise, we needed something beautiful to sing. The letter from Karen came in the mail, typed and flat. I read it once. Then I filed it away. Not because I forgave her, but because I no longer needed anything from her. The world had already answered. Now, when I push a cart through a grocery store, I hold my head higher. I hold my daughter tighter. And I don't flinch anymore, because that day in aisle 7 didn't break me. It made me louder. And I wasn't alone.